Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Software Testing Happy Hour, sponsored by Checkpoint Technologies. I am here with Matt Kubal, Senior Technician.
Hello, hello.
And I haven't even had a sip of the beer yet. Senior Technician with Checkpoint Technologies. Hey Matt.
Hello, how's it going?
Great. And we are joined today by John Armenia, VP of Engineering with AccuSoft. Welcome, John.
Cheers.
And hey everybody, we're recording from Big Storm Brewery in Odessa, Florida, where I'm drinking the Arcus, which is a honey IPA. John, what are you?
I'm drinking the Bay beer.
All right.
It's a Starkey Blonde. It's a strawberry beer. Delicious.
All right. Well, cheers everyone. We are going to jump right into it. So I have had the pleasure of knowing John for at least, 10 years, I'm thinking?
Feels like forever.
It does, and that's a good thing, right?
Good forever. Good forever.
That's a good thing. We've gone to many Tampa Bay Quality Assurance Association chapter meetings. John has presented quite often on a plethora of topics, but I consider him to be one of the most knowledgeable people that I know in DevOps, especially helping organizations transition and implement DevOps. So John, I'd love for you to share with everybody more your role at AccuSoft and some of the really cool stuff that you've told us about in the past and that you've shown us.
Sure. At AccuSoft, I'm the Vice President of Engineering. That entitles a whole lot more than just engineering at this point, but let's just talk about the engineering stuff.
Okay.
When I first started there, I was a dev manager over our SaaS team, and we were learning how to do DevOps and deploy frequently and all the fun things that come with a SaaS product. Then once we mastered that for SaaS, we migrated that same philosophy and technologies to our on-prem products as well as our SDKs.
Okay, great. And how many releases do you all now have per month?
Ooh.
If that's a good, or even per week.
I got to think. I was just looking at the dashboard this week. On average, each of our products that have been modernized release 3 to 4 times per week.
Oh,
so
nice.
Typically, we'll release what we call preview builds multiple times a week, and then quarterly we'll have an official marketing release where we'll publish all the new features, but our customers have access to the release as soon as we publish it each day or week.
All right, outstanding. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is around the terms continuous deployment versus continuous delivery.
Sure, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. So I share with people, what it's my understanding to be. So who knows? You may set me straight here, and I may find out I've been all wet the whole time.
Or it's possible you set me straight.
But what do you typically tell people the difference is?
So I think of the delivery as being ready to deploy, and then deployment being the actual handing it off to a customer. So I would say most of our products, we do continuous delivery. That would be our preview builds.
Okay.
And then our deployment there is the official marketing release. Our SaaS products are more of a continuous deployment where they actually get to the point where they deliver and then automatically deploy within a few hours the new features.
And you consider that continuous deployment?
That's continuous deployment.
See, and all right, outstanding. Because I've always said to people, with continuous deployment, nobody's pushing a button to actually deploy it in prod.
Exactly.
There's an automated process. Yep. With continuous delivery, it stops at that point, and somebody's got to bless it and say, yep, we're going to now deploy it.
Yep. And that's exactly the same thing we do.
Okay, good. Cheers. And we are on the same page. Nice. All right.
What was the delivery cycle like before you came in there and changed everything around? And what was the culture shock like?
The delivery cycle was one of those, we'll release it once a year, have a major release once a year, and then potentially release minor releases, but in reality it ended up being released once every 18 months because you cut the first RC in a year and there'd be 6 months of release candidates.
Gotcha.
The first release I was part of for that product took, I think it was 9 weeks to release, and I think it had 9 release candidates.
Okay.
That product now has less than 2 days of manual testing at the end of the release cycle, and we deploy every quarter, but we continuously deliver to our production, our preview builds daily.
So it's interesting. The manual testing never goes away. I keep telling people this.
Well, there's
always
some
manual
aspect of
testing.
it, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting because you can't you could automate everything, but
Yeah.
at some point a human's going to use your product,
Yeah.
and you need to make sure it works for a
So
human.
it's a sanity check
Yep.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell people that when it comes to DevOps, testing like usability testing, right?
Right.
You can't automate that because it's so subjective. And you're going to choose somebody to do that testing who knows your business really well. And you normally do that as, I don't know, set-aside testing maybe?
Yeah, that's what I would call it. Yeah.
Okay.
Towards the end of a release, when we've done continuous delivery for 3 months, and now we're getting ready to do that marketing release.
Okay.
That's when we'll do the usability testing or the manual testing. Just
Okay.
that it was too expensive to automate.
Got it. Now, when it comes to automation, though, you've got the automation of the deployment into the different stages, and you've got test automation. So share with us, your thoughts on the key role, the importance of test on automation. I don't want to limit it to test automation.
So the way I think of it is you want to automate anything that you want to know if it changed. It may change for a positive reason, but you probably want to know that. So we'll automate API calls, we'll automate some user interface testing, we'll even automate performance testing. We've got
Okay.
performance tests that run over a weekend when the rest of the servers are quiet, so that we can ensure that our product is performing as we expect or in range.
Okay. So that type of performance testing you're just doing, I don't want to say with minimum load, but you're certainly not trying to break it or see where the bottlenecks are necessarily.
Well, we can, we do.
Okay.
The difference is we want to do it under a controlled load. So if
Got
it can
it.
handle
Okay.
X amount of load today, we want to make sure it performs at least as well under that load next weekend.
Okay.
And then we'll monitor our cloud platforms to see real-time productions or real-time performance based on the way users are using it. But
Okay.
And have you been able to fold in any security scans or static code scans as part of that?
we do it. That's part of just our normal build process.
Okay. Interesting.
Now, if you wouldn't mind, what are the solutions that you all are using in your DevOps environment?
It really depends on the product and the tool chain.
Okay.
Is
So-
it mostly open source?
Most of it is, yeah. I can't think of any closed source products that we would use as part of our DevOps pipeline. I mean, most of it's in AWS, some of it's in OpenStack, some of it's custom written because when we started this project, some of the tools didn't exist. We're currently migrating off of Jenkins onto GitLab's. I can't think of the name now. Whatever their version of workflows are.
And what have you found to be the biggest challenges you've encountered in transitioning the organization into a DevOps methodology?
You would think it would be getting management behind it, but that wasn't really the challenge. I think the biggest challenge is knowing when good enough is good enough. There's always one more test you can write. There's always one more performance benchmark you can measure.
Okay.
But it's how do you know when, and how do you help the engineers know when they've done enough testing to move forward? And that's really the role our SVETs play right now, is more advisors on appropriate testing.
Okay.
I like the saying, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah. Well, all right, so how do you know? What criteria do you use and do you have your team use to know when enough is enough?
I trust their judgment. How critical is the service or the feature that they're working on? Really, what stage of the life cycle of the product is that feature in? Is it a feature that's brand new and we're just looking to get feedback on it, or is this something that is really critical to all of our customers? And if it breaks or it has performance issues, is it going to impact their business negatively?
Okay, all right, and based on that, they're able to quantify, if you will, the amount of testing?
Yeah, they've got metrics, they got code coverage tools, and they've got test plans that they write to figure out, make sure every branch is being covered, and then they just know where the effort is spent.
Okay, got it. Interesting.
We're actually starting to use AI for some of that test plan writing as well. That was something new that we just recently started playing with.
Yeah, I remember you and I had a brief conversation about ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And what's some of the stuff you've done with ChatGPT?
Asking it for test permutations.
Okay.
Some of the file formats out there that we process are just, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pages. So there's no possible way you could test every single permutation. But using it to help you generate files with the appropriate test cases or enough of the sticking points based on the document spec. It was interesting. I actually asked it to build me a test plan based on the DocX spec, and it actually did a pretty good job to start with.
Okay.
Obviously, the SDETs have their own knowledge that they could inject into it, and it's not going to replace them, but it's certainly a great way to get
Very
started.
interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Get most of the text there. You can review it and make sure it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's great because then you can, use AI to create it, but then you all as humans review it, insert your added expertise or knowledge, which for some reason maybe AI didn't know about it. So that's great. Nice.
Very cool.
What do you see on the horizon in your world for DevOps and what you all do?
I see a lot more AI involvement. I mean, I know that's what everybody's saying, but I think it's true. With the document processing we do, documents can come in any shape or form or size. So having AI be able to analyze a document and understand, did we process it correctly? Having AI look at your performance metrics and understanding what changed and understanding the data loads. The AI is going to significantly change DevOps and testing in the next 3 or 4 years, just like it is everything. And I'm just not sure where we're going to be yet, but it's going to be different.
Okay, great.
I feel like they will just end up being sort of a heuristic, like part of the, like you wouldn't trust it 100%, right? You would just kind of have it as part of the process, and if something major shows up,
yeah, maybe
say, okay, we need to look at this.
Maybe it's the thing generating alerts instead of setting hard limits. Hey, if the CPU gets over this percentage, fire off an alert that wakes up the IT team. Maybe it's AI looking at it and saying, hey, maybe it's this series of metrics. There's all kinds of things you could potentially do, especially as you get more and more data, feeding it, saying, in the past when we've seen spikes like this, it means this is going on.
Gotcha. Interesting.
And it's funny, AI is really in my head because I've started watching Picard on Paramount Plus, where they're all taking over and everything. But it's I love the way that you just put it. It's like, yeah, you use it to give you guidance and alleviate your work. Now, have you all integrated security into DevOps? Are you all DevSecOps?
We've started that process. We're not as far along as we'd like to be, but we do have basic security testing as part of our product. But
Okay.
most of that is still manual.
Okay. What do you feel like is probably an important question that Matt and I have not asked, that if you could share with the listeners, the viewers, you might?
I guess the thing that I would say is, if you ask what type of products can you apply DevOps and test automation to, the answer is any. I think that's kind of one of the things I've built at least the last couple of years of my career on, is showing that just because you're not a SaaS product, because you're an on-prem product or you're a 15-year-old product, doesn't mean you can't apply these concepts. Yeah, it might take some extra work, but it's going to pay off when you do that work in reliability, agility, speed of deployment, all of those things.
So and I know we're going a little bit over our 15 minutes, but which types of industries do you feel that DevOps, DevSecOps, that they should sit up and take notice and say, hey, if you're not DevOps or DevSecOps now, you should be?
I can't think of any that wouldn't have that. Now, obviously, some that have higher security standards and have higher, less tolerance for risk, they're going to want to have those more thorough QA processes.
Okay.
But a lot of the DevOps and the automation aren't necessarily just for the end product, they're for the engineers. The faster the engineers can know they caused a problem, the easier it is for them to fix, because they were just in that code. So when the test fails 20 minutes later, they're familiar with it. If they get a test back from a manual tester 3 weeks from now, now they've got to remember where they were in the code, what they were doing, what impacted that. It just adds time.
That's a great point. That's something I never really even thought about. Well, Matt, do you have any other questions for John?
No, I think we're good.
All right, John, outstanding and good
Appreciate
stuff.
you being here.
Cheers,
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Cheers.
And thank you, everybody. Appreciate you joining Software Testing Happy Hour, sponsored by Checkpoint Technologies. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Have a great day. Bye now.